Okay.
electrical systems. Keep going. I was just going to, I thought we were, I misunderstood. Yeah. Please keep going. Yeah, so on this side, all of the electrical systems, you have your 300 amp hours of lithium batteries, and then all of your three charging methods connect into the system. So you have your solar on the roof, your alternator charging when the engine's running, and then you have shore power, which is right down here, just a standard extension cord.
Does that cord come with the fan?
We can get you one if you'd like, but a standard, reasonably high gauge, lower gauge extension cord. Yeah, it's just a standard outlet.
Yep. It's a standard outlet.
Yeah.
Just a regular cord.
Yep.
Okay. I'm used to boats with the big.
Oh, the big one. Yeah. So those are often at 30 amp or
Those are
larger.
30 amp. Yeah.
This is a 15 amp
regular
service.
15 amp. Got it.
But for your battery size, that can still charge the battery.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
That's nice. So solar, alternator charging, your shore power charging. Come in here, Jen. Can I ask you to come around here?
Sorry.
You're good. So at the front, like going in. So we have your batteries. We're on a slope here. Batteries at the. Got it? Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Of course. That's what I'm here for.
So starting out at the front, we have your lithium batteries, and then this larger blue box. These are all Victron components. They all communicate together and communicate with the central control system.
Wait, so there's two batteries right there.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Those
Side
are the
by
two.
side.
Yep, got it.
I think there are two 160 amp hour batteries. It's just a more efficient arrangement. And so moving from the front to the back, you have your batteries. Up at the front there, we have the solar charge control units and your alternator control.
And we should probably never need to really access those, right?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to point them out just so you know what's in this in the system.
The two at the front are the batteries.
So at the very front, that's your alternator charging. So that's
Alternator charging. Got it. Okay.
It's monitoring the input.
And then the next one on the side is the solar.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, you got it.
And then this draws everything together.
Yeah. So it's alternator charging, solar. The next one that says 1,000 on it. That's just that's a large bus that combines all of your positive and negative inputs and distributes them to the rest of the system.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And then you have your inverter charger. So this is what takes your shore power and then also provides high voltage AC to your outlets and your induction cooktop.
Okay.
And actually, there's also an additional heating element, so I'll go over that when we get to it. So yeah, your inverter charger. And then tucked back in here, we have control systems. So the brain of the system is down there. That would see the flashing green and blue lights.
Oh yeah.
That's connected to the monitor in the van. Yeah.
Do you see everything he's talking about?
Yeah. I have, but I don't see the flash. I see the blue light.
Down on the connected to the.
Oh, down. Okay, got it.
It says
Oh yeah. Yep.
So that's the main control system, and then there are also additional breakers and control safety circuits within the cabinet. As you said, though, nothing really in here should
ever, unless it needs servicing or something.
Exactly. Yeah. If there were a voltage spike or some short or something like that, and you tripped multiple safety mechanisms, several breakers, there may be a tripped breaker within the cabinet, but there are several layers of protection. So it would be a pretty catastrophic failure.
Oh, okay.
Quite unlikely, but that's just there for an additional level of protection. And so that's about it within the cabinet.
And sorry to interrupt, but there are diagrams for all of this, right?
Yes, and the manuals for every component within the system is in a folder that we give you as well. Yeah. So close the cabinet here. Oh, all right. Should I turn that off? That helps a little bit.
There we go.
Okay. So The section of the system that you will be interacting with more regularly, this is your breaker panel, and a primary shutoff. So starting at the top, this is your high voltage AC breaker panel, so your induction cooktop, your AC outlets, and your electric heating element. So I talked about the diesel heater. It also has a backup electric heating element. This is something that our clients use less often. The diesel system is so efficient and it puts out plenty of heat that this is really a backup. You know, most often used. It does use a lot of power. Electric heat is inefficient.
If you were hooked to shore power, you could use that and not use up your diesel.
That's exactly the case. Yep. So
that's when you use it.
If you are, if you don't want to go through the winterizing process, and you are going to leave the van and it's going to be below freezing, and you have it connected to shore power, you have it exactly right. So you're going to come here, you're going to turn on your electric heat at the breaker here. There's a control at the thermostat to just use this electric heat, and then you can maintain a temperature without using diesel. It's also there in an emergency. If you need heat and you have the battery power to spare, you don't have to have shore power to use that electric heat. All right, so that's AC. Down below, this is your DC, your low voltage 12 volt system. I have everything on right now. So starting out sub panel, that's the control panel for lights and pumps and things like that.
Oh, okay.
We'll go over that in the van.
So for the top three of those are on or off right now?
These are off right now.
Off,
and so you'll see, and actually I have the inverter off too, so it didn't light up. But you could leave these on. It's not, we'll talk about like when you want to turn these off.
Yeah.
Okay. And when they can be on. These I generally leave off. The high voltage system is relatively inefficient, uses a lot of power, and so you generally want to have your inverter off when you're not using it actively. And so in your case, if you're not cooking with the induction, if you're not using the AC outlets and you're not using that electric heat, just leave all of those off. On the DC side, so we have your sub panel, we'll go over that in a minute. These next two, heater fuel and heater control. So the heating system, the diesel burner, and the control circuitry are on their own circuits, just to give them some more protection. The only thing, generally it's fine just to, I can just switch off the refrigerator and the fan and the outlets. The heater is the one thing that you don't want to just shut down without letting it go through its shutdown process. So you need it. It has a process of shutting down its systems in a controlled way. And if you were to just kill power to it, particularly when it's running right now, not the worst thing in the world, but it's potentially something that could cause an issue and require service. Okay. So generally though, if you're using the van, there's not a problem with just leaving all of these on. Okay. They will use a small amount of power, even if you're not, like if the lights are off, but you still have your sub panel on, it's going to draw a little bit. Not a big deal if you have some solar. If you have a little bit of solar, it's probably going to compensate for just the kind of the base draw.
But if it's in a garage, not running.
Then you can shut things down. So the two heater circuits, you do need both of those on to run the heater. Next refrigerator, the fan, so the fan system there, and we'll go over the remote control there. Your USB outlets, separated around throughout the van. Bed lights, so those are the two lights there. They also have USB outlets on them, and they're controllable. There's a button at the end of the light that can control the dimming. USB outlets, headlights, and the storage light. So this is the one that just.
And then when we're running, all of this, the low voltage will run just off the inverter's off, and we'll just run on engine power.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, if you're driving regularly, you could leave all of these on, and you would be maintaining a full charge of your batteries.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. But doesn't the inverter change it from engine power to?
So that's the alternator. So the alternator is taking. Oh, it's no problem. The alternator is is DC, and that's charging through those control units directly into the batteries. The inverter is what's taking the either shore power, your AC from shore
gotcha.
power,
Okay.
and also converting your 12-volt battery power into high voltage for your AC systems.
So the inverter is switched before we start needing those.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, you could, leaving those on right now, that's not going to draw any power since we have the inverter off at its control panel. And so if I were going out for a weekend trip, I would probably come back here and just switch everything on and leave it, and you don't have to worry about it. You can control everything elsewhere. And as you said, driving regularly, it's going to have plenty of power to keep it charged. So we've gone through down here. If I was going to leave it for overnight or longer, I would probably come through and turn everything on. So we have one AC outlet back here. This is your master shutoff switch. So while these switches you're going to be interacting with more regularly, the master shutoff switch is a physical disconnect between the battery and the rest of the system. There are really only two situations where you want to do
Fire.
that. Yep, exactly. If you smell burning plastic or see smoke, or if you think that something's going wrong, if you suspect a short or something, coming back here, flipping that off, shuts off the system from the batteries, and gives you that protection. The other case where you'd want to turn this off is in long-term storage.
Oh, okay.
So leaving it for even a week or more, I would probably leave this on, because when you shut this off, it shuts off the monitoring circuitry that doesn't really draw too much power, and so you lose a little bit of history monitoring the battery health. And so if it's just a weekend or something, or even up to a week, I would probably leave this on and then shut everything else off. But in that storage situation, shutting everything off here, you're maybe going through a winterizing process, and then you can shut off the main disconnect.
Got it.
All right. Let's see if any questions about this side of it.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Great. All right, let's go into.
Is that a smoke alarm?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Or carbon monoxide or smoke?
it's that's a combination smoke detector and battery powered. All right, and then we'll go over. This is the one last thing that's going to mount it back here. This is your.
I was going to ask you about that. What that is?
Yeah, so this is your awning crank.
Oh,
and
got it.
We'll extend that one
Awesome.
as well.
Thank you.
Let's just go on with the electrical systems.
And I'm sorry, that's smoke detector and carbon monoxide, or
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
that's